We're in the process this afternoon of raw packing some pork meat and canning it. This little dinky paring knife out of the kitchen and a good sharpener to go with it. I wouldn't use this sharpener on anything but this old trashy knife. This is what we're cutting up and putting in the pack. You can see who it's from. You can see it's also $6.27. Let's see, how many pounds is this? It's 7 1/3 or 7.13 pounds for $6.27. That's pretty cheap. And we're actually just cutting it off the bone and to maybe 1-inch cubes and sticking it in the jars and going to cold pack or a raw pack and then pressure can it. We'll let John hold the camera here for a moment and I'll go to cutting some of this up and you can see how we're doing it. There's not a whole lot to it, just pulling a piece out. Some of them kind of stuck together a little bit. And you'll see some of this crud on the side like this. You know, everybody knows what sawdust is. This is meat dust. It's actually just fat from the bandsaw blade where they cut the stuff up. I'll scrape that off so that it doesn't end up in the jar with the food. And just a quick trim. Take that bone out. And what I'll actually do is put it over here in this pot. I've got a pot on the stove with a little water in it. I'm gonna ball the bones up a little bit and then add, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of a cup or so to each jar. You really don't need to add any liquid at all if you don't want to. And I would add just a very minimum amount, because as this meat is cooked, and it is fully cooked once it's pressure canned, it makes its own juice. And a lot of the bones I'll just throw away. Some of the smaller ones. We're sticking the 1-inch cubes in the jar, trimming excess fat off for sure. Don't take all of the fat because that's where some of the flavor is. But you stick it in the jar and use the bubble popper, or whatever you call this little pad, and kind of make sure that there's no big air pockets down in there. And you don't want to fill your jar up any more than what that top shoulder is right there. This one needs just a couple more little pieces and it'll be ready to put the lid on. And I'm not really forcing it and packing it down in there. That's not what you want to do when you're canning meat. I'll take one of these reusable. I'm using some Tattler. I'm using Tattler type reusable canning rings and lids, and I'll give them a good rinse. I'm really not worried about them being hygienic, yeah, hygienic, because they're actually going to sterilize in the pressure canner. And I've got this pot going wide open over here. I need to turn this down. Actually, I just want this to barely simmer. I'll have to skim some of the scum off the top of that before I get too far along. I had another pack of meat like this we ate 2 meals out of, and I took about half of one more of these pork steaks to make up 4 pints. That's what we have here so far. And my canner will take 7 quarts or 14 pints. I'm not sure that I have enough rings or sealing rings and lids to do 14, so I'll do at least 7 to get a good run on it. I'll be back here shortly. We've got the 7 pints of fresh pork in the jars, deboned and most of the fat taken out. We've got a few bones in the stock pot going wide open. There's no salt, no seasonings in there, it's any sort added to this stuff. I'm only going to put maybe 1/8 of a cup into each jar, since it's going to make some of its own juice. Over here on the table, we have an old National pressure cooker. Thank you, Nick. I wish you was here to see this, buddy. We miss you and Miss Juanita. We're going to cut now and get ready to put these in the pot and be right back with you. I'm going to go ahead and take these bones out of here. I'm not trying to get any of the excess meat that was on them off or anything. I'll probably end up giving these to the dogs. Speaking of which, it's a dog's life. Somebody's got to do it. Get this out of the pot real quickly here. This pot is kind of got a dome-shaped bottom to it, so it kind of swings around on the stove at the least provocation. And these tongs are really brand new and they're kind of stiff to operate. And if you check out the pot here, we've got just a very small amount of stock left in the bottom. That's all we really need. I'm gonna take a ladle now and a pot holder. And I hope the light's okay here.
It looks good.
I'll put just a little dab in each jar. Oh well, I missed most of that one. Good thing I'm having to clean up after myself, huh? And that worked out just almost perfectly.
Looks like it.
And what I'll do is I'll take this bubble breaker, a bubble popper, or how you call it. Give it a good rinse, make sure there's no soap on it from being in the sink. And go back and make sure that we don't have any real big air bubbles in the jar. Looks like I may have put just a little too much in these things. We'll find out. This is all kind of an experiment. This is only the second time I've ever tried canning any meat. I'm gonna have to take some of this out of this one. This is way too much in here. That's looking a little better. Okay, we've got that. Set this off to the side in the sink or somewhere close. Excuse the dish situation now, but I often make a mess while I'm doing things. I'll be the one having to clean it up anyhow. My son's taking graphic, or what would you say that? Photographic
evidence
of
your negligence.
And we'll put the lids on.
Let me go around.
This jar here is a little bit light on the meat situation. And I'm putting these just, I guess you could call it finger tight, and then just a little bit. I don't want to have the same experience with these tight little lids as I saw a fellow on YouTube the other day. He went to tighten one up after it came out of the canner, and the thing blew hot stock all over his hand. He got some, I believe, second-degree burns out of it. That one had a little too much in it too.
Why are you pouring it in the sink instead of the pot?
Because I'm going to throw what's in the pot away.
Right.
Now, I'll take the canner. And because I just generally love to rush things, I'll put a couple inches of hot water in it. If I had all this mess out of the sink, I'd be able to get it straight out the faucet. But this will work. We can pause now for a moment. We've got it on the stove top. People say you're not supposed to use these glass stove tops with canners. Maybe I'm stubborn or hard-headed or whatever. Until I find evidence that it doesn't work, then I'm going to go ahead and do it anyhow. And you'll notice that, if you can get a close-up here, John, the water comes up almost halfway to the jar. It doesn't have to cover the jar at all when you pressure can it. There you go, that's a good one. We're going to apply the top. There's a science to the madness of this thing. There's a little mark on front that says open and closed.
Not sure that's really picking up, but whatever.
If you line up the mark on the lid of the pot and give it a quarter or eighth or 16th of a twist, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. This thing is the way this works is once you get steam coming out of the port here for 10 minutes, there's got to be a steady stream of steam. You can put this on and let it bleed a little bit more, and you tighten this part down, and it'll go ahead and block the steam outlet. When you pressure, it's going to be hard to see the gauge on this.
Yeah, that's... No, it's coming in.
But we'll run it up to 10 or 11 pounds of pressure and hold it there for 70 minutes. Okay, I'm not sure that you can see it, and it's kind of hard for me to see also, but I'm sure you can hear it. This thing has been steaming now for, at least 10 minutes. I'm going to put the plug on it and we'll take it from there. A very good column of steam coming out of there.
Yeah, that's definitely visible.
Can you see it there now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to flip this. I'll leave the set screw open. I'll sit that on there. There we go. And I'll watch the gauge. It can be hard to see the gauge in the dark.
Yeah.
I'll do that. When it gets up to 10 pounds, I'll start backing off on the throttle of the stove. And now is not the time to take a good cold drink on the side porch. You need to stay and watch this thing.
I'll see you later.
Especially to get the temperature just right. And the temperature and pressure is what's doing this. The pressure is what will give you the temperature. If it falls off below 10 pounds, you got to start the timing over again. And the timing doesn't start until it reaches 10 pounds. So we're going to take another pause and I'll be back with you shortly.
Be careful there.
Some of the labels that Nick used on these jars
Didn't fully come off.
It's kind of stubborn. This water,
Labels tend to do that.
this water will almost take the hide off a catfish, so eventually it works on the glue on these labels too. So.
keep getting my finger in the lens. It's about 40 seconds. I think that's good enough.
Yeah.